Welcome to a summer tour of the gardens. This is Mary at Gardening with Granny, and what you're seeing is my view from what we call our Florida room. It's our covered porch. In the springtime, I use it as a transition to outside so the plants can get acclimated. And so I'm going to turn you around so that we can start the tour. So this is our lake, and like I said, this is the view from what we call the Florida room. Right now, I have under these towels the garlic and potatoes that we harvested, keeping them from the light. The garlic is just about ready to braid, and we've eaten several portions of the red potatoes. They turned out gorgeous. So the first thing as I exit the sliding glass door is our sweet peas. They are still fabulous. The cathedral bell vine is not blooming yet, but it is growing well right along with it. I paired these because I knew that the sweet peas would be a good springtime. Pretty amazed that it's still blooming midsummer, but hopefully we'll see the cathedral vine show its colors pretty soon. I also put in some nasturtium and marigold as fillers and spillers, and we can see that there are some pods, and I can save the seeds and grow these next year. So, and there we are. There's the lake. We have a martin house that is quite active. They will probably be leaving around the 10th of August. They have been training their young to fly. They eat lots and lots of mosquitoes, and we love them for that. Down here is where the garlic was growing. I replaced it with some large marigolds, and there are some sunflower seeds that I started in there, and we'll see if that happens. I also have a trailing nasturtium. You can see that bright orange color there that's popping through. So we'll swing around and check out our 3 green stalks. Some of the plants have bolted. I have other plants that I started in the Vego Garden to replace these bolted ones. But you can see here, this is our holy basil. I've been enjoying the blooms of this. It smells divine. Also some purple basil. This is a huge pepper plant, and we do have a pepper on it. Several, actually. And this is all coming from the bottom pocket. So it starts there and goes all the way up to this tier, which is the second tier. So, yeah. And you can see our micro dwarfs. The tomatoes are it's just loaded. Loaded. Now all they have to do is turn color, and that will be very exciting. Marigolds, parsley, and another micro dwarf. Just find these so interesting, the way that the part of it grows right on top of the leaves and lays there. So on to our next green stalk. Well, we have strawberries, but that, like I said, is next year. Down here, the micro dwarf is an orange variety, and we've been picking off of that. This is that word I can't pronounce. Tomato. I transplanted some lettuce. You can see the lettuce in there. We have an ox heart tomato that is just starting to turn yellow. You may pick it in a couple of days. This is the purple variety called Ink Spot tomato. Doesn't seem to be growing any more flowers, but we will have a tomato from it. There's some chard that I transplanted, some pak choi, Swiss chard down there, some calendula, more flat leaf parsley, nasturtium, and then this is the one that I have some preparing to do. I will be putting in some fall crops that are in the Vego Garden starting. Tried starting something, decided to eat it, so I said, okay, if you're going to do that, I'm going to go to the full plant and put in that. This parsley wasn't affected, so it's growing well. These are the strawberries that I had purchased from the farmer's market. They were extremely small, but it looks like we've got growth coming on them. Another green pepper plant. I love growing the green pepper plants in here because when it becomes too cold, I can cover these. And here's another large marigold that I'm going to transplant out of there. I didn't think that those were the large variety, but apparently they are. So let's move on to another part of the garden. So we're still on the lakeside, and I wanted to show you these beautiful hanging baskets. We have a winding staircase that takes us to the ground level from upstairs, and these beautiful hanging baskets and fern area. Not something that I normally share with you, but they were looking so lovely, I figured had to show them to you. Along this way, I've got coleus. This is a difficult area to plant because these are in both shade and sun. So try to get something to match is not always easy. And the ones in the sun don't look as good as the ones in the shade, but they at least match and they look good. Now going up our hill area here, this is between the houses where we planted ivy and pachysandra. And we have these very, very tall evergreens, probably called green giants. And this is where I have my excuse me, plants for look at them bees on that milkweed. They're just loving it. I have some kind of a squash growing on in here. We'll see what develops. So far there are no fruit, lots of flowers. I may have to do some hand pollination on that. And as we turn around here, we've got the grape area underneath the apple tree. And the apples are looking pretty good. We'll see if we get anything this year. Usually they're wormy. We don't spray our trees for anything. But let's check out these grapes. They are looking lovely. Not turning yet. Been using some diatomaceous earth to keep away the beetles. Beetles really love this. For some reason it's what they love to munch on, but we're successfully keeping them away from things. There's the purple fountain grass I planted in bloom, looking very pretty. Hostas are in bloom, but again, it's not something that the bloom is not exciting, I don't think. Impatiens are looking good underneath there. Coleus coming along very nice, almost like a hedge of coleus. Love that color. And the occasional petunia. They weren't as vibrant as I thought they would be. They're vibrant in color. They're just not vigorous as I thought they would be. Then you've seen this area before. The astilbe is in bloom. And the brunnera still looking beautiful. Corbels, I think this one is called blackberry heuchera. There's our mother geranium, whose cuttings have given us more beautiful hydrangea. On the porch I have lavender plant. I occasionally put it out in the sun. We've been having some heavy storms. Some begonia. Pot of herbs. Moonflower about to have a bloom open on it. And these petunias have been doing really good. Put in a bee balm. It bloomed for a while. Hoping I get another flush of blooms. The asters are about ready to bloom. And there's the canna, peach-colored canna that I planted there. It's doing really well. No blooms yet on the hollyhocks. And these lilies are just about done. This other pot of herbs has got sage growing in it. Some more of the geranium. And this pot is chamomile, a begonia, and another petunia. And in this hanging pot, we've got some beautiful fuchsia. And there we go. And so that's my hydrangea, healthy but not blooming. There's the bush, variegated bush. It's not, this is its dull time. It starts to get more vibrant as fall comes along. So spring, it's vibrant. Summer, not so much. And we go with our hostas again. These are in full sun. So this time of year, the plants themselves are kind of struggling. After the blooms are done, I usually just shear this all down. But you can see in the middle, we've got some beautiful snapdragons and our purple salvia, rockin' purple. Begonias finally did take off. They filling a little bit in that section. That's looking pretty. Yet to come are the mums. And the plants themselves are looking very healthy. So when I shear down the hostas, there will be other interest. So here on the other side, earwigs attacked my lisianthus. So unfortunately, they are not looking very well, but I think I got to them in time that I will be getting some more blooms. We'll see. This lipstick salvia has been a disappointment. They told me it would bloom all summer. Well, maybe one or two, but too sporadic for what I want. The bloom flowers did open up. Lovely pink. And the cannas look like they've had it. I don't know. Hydrangeas are getting bigger and bigger. I have a dahlia here I'm going to move because it's the only one of three that actually did anything. I think I'll move it over here to this section where it's kind of sparse. So let's go to the herb garden. There's our herb garden, and this juniper is probably 50 years old. It's had some hard times, but it's made its way to come back and still look lovely. Had some heavy snow one year and it sank this whole portion down. And this sweet potato vine is very pretty. Sweet William is taking a rest. I've got a couple of tomatoes growing in here. This is close to the house, and so if we have cool weather, I can actually cover these, extend my season by doing that. Got tansy, mint, nasturtium, chives doing its second wind. In the back here, my garlic. This is elephant garlic, and I just love the way the little top sits on top of the globe. Kind of looks like a little hat sitting there. These will sometimes get 6 feet long, and their bulbs are a good 2 to 3 inches. And the beautiful thing about them is that there isn't a bunch of cloves that you have to take the skin off. It's just one big clove. It's milder than the regular garlic, but yeah, it looks like our tansy is about to open here. Horseradish, wild and wonderful. I take leaves and lay them down as mulch, and that works really well. Got lots of comfrey. I do the same thing with the comfrey. Got a perennial hibiscus back there, and it will bloom. I fertilized it, but it always did seem to have that look that it needed iron for some reason. The yarrow is hanging in there. lemon balm. I've made lots of dried herbs this year. The daisies are just about at their end. I've been deadhead them, and so there we have some. This is Artemisia, and then sage, and there's two more of the perennial hibiscus. The butterfly bush is coming into bloom, looking very pretty. Very glad to see you, butterfly bush. I was wondering if you were going to show up this year. And then second potato bag that we've got to open up and see what we got. So there's the herb garden. So here are the peonies, and as you remember, I planted gladiolas behind the peonies, and they are blooming. So this one is going to be pink. We'll see. These are supposed to be what's called frizzle frazzle, but we'll see. It's my first year growing them. Got another one blooming here. I'm just happy to see that they're growing and blooming. Our mallow has got its second wind, and it too has some gladiola in here. All the lilies are out of bloom or about to bloom. There's the variegated willow. I did cut off a good 2 feet. I try to contain this because otherwise it becomes unmanageable. But it is such a pretty bush. Really do like it. These are maple. One of the trees the birds gifted us with. And further down, not much growing on the hoop garden this year, the trellising. I did put in some cucumbers for, this is like the third planting of cucumbers. So I have a bunch of succession planting. I have some lettuce growing in here that I will be putting in the green stalk. And as we walk further down, you can see that our zucchini is looking very good. I come out here and dust it, the base of it, so that I don't get bugs. This is an area where bugs want to land. These are these are the gold potatoes that I planted, and they're in bloom, looking lovely. These are the ones that grew from last year. I must have left in the ground. So we'll be digging those up in about 4 weeks, 3 weeks. These are tomatoes. Lots of tomatoes. Green. Not many red yet. But harvest season for us there in Michigan for tomatoes is usually August. Celery is doing good. I'm thinking this is the way I'm going to grow celery from now on. It is looking lovely, and I can keep the stalks from getting too tough from sun exposure. As we turn around, we can see the more tomatoes. This is the year for tomatoes. Been picking the green onions, having some wonderful dishes with that. You can see we have lots of green beans coming. We've been picking at these. Not enough to do any harvesting, but I pick some and then I put it in a bag, and then when I've got enough, we have a meal. It's a lovely San Marzano. More green beans. Now I did start this batch 2 weeks after I started the batch behind it, but it's caught up. So we had a really strong wind and rain that kind of beat up this nasturtium. I gave it a little fertilizer yesterday, and hopefully it'll come back. We'll see. Well, let's take a look under this net and see how are our cabbage doing. Well, we've got some little heads, nice and firm. The diatomaceous earth seems to be doing a good job of keeping away the earwigs that were climbing in there. So, yeah, excited about that. And here's our first Vego garden. Lots of tomatoes. I'm learning what varieties I like and what varieties that aren't worth planting again next year. Got fennel growing in the middle of it. This is the, I think it's called globe fennel. So it's supposed to grow a bulb at the base of it. Lots of blooms on our cucumber. Did pick a couple of cucumbers already, so that's doing real well. Pepper plants. I don't think it's as hot in this area as it is on the deck, so the peppers aren't developing as much as I'd hope they would. Neighbor has gladiolas, and she has one in bloom there. This is the newer Vego garden that we are starting some bok choy and lettuce for transplanting, some Swiss chard. I won't be transplanting the beets, but I thought I'd put a few of those in. My husband's not a beet lover. Over to this Vego garden. Yeah, this year I was determined that I'm going to grow enough tomatoes to harvest that we don't have to buy tomatoes, that we'll have enough for fresh eating and canning and freeze drying. So there's another succession of cucumbers. We'll see. You know, here in Michigan, after September comes, you never know. Now we've got a blushing plum tomato. Look at the size of these beautiful. Those are going to be gorgeous. Definitely will grow that variety again. I think that's mortgage lifter. And this, I think, is Kellogg's breakfast. But I'm not keen on the ones that get all contorted and weird looking. I think they're heirloom, but to me it isn't worth all the trouble trying to get all the different parts So it grows so separately. Some part will grow and develop and other parts not. So you waste a lot. So there are tomatoes. There's our more hostas. This is where our clematis were. Zinnia's coming along. We still have a rabbit that is munching away, determined to get all of my gladiolas along the fence here. And I got a really pretty sunflower, branching sunflower. The elderberry has some berries on it now. This is the black lace. Down here is a standard elderberry. This is the goji bush. Now that's going to get enormous, and I'll have to make sure I can contain it. I do have some amaranth planted in here. We'll see if it develops. It is still the end of July, so we've got time. Here's the other standard elderberry, but this one is really taking off. It's going to be huge compared to the other one. There's a perennial hibiscus. This one is white with a maroon center. Very, very pretty. Happy to see how healthy it's doing. So let's go on to the entrance garden. Going around our forsythia, you see the entrance garden, and again, we live on a fairly busy street, so there's lots of noises, but I'm so impressed with how this is doing. I spent about an hour and a half weeding yesterday. We do have thistle that grows up and can take over, but this bubble gum is giving it a good fight. And so is the mini vista yellow. The mums behind that are coming along. I've got some little buds on them. You can see the black-eyed Susan and the daisies. This is just gorgeous the way I like it. Pretty soon the daisies will be done, but then the black-eyed Susan will be in full bloom. I did have some echinacea in here. I'm not sure that that's going to show. Each year is different. Here we are at the other side of the entrance, and the heron structure that my son Michael carved. The star of the show today is the dragon tongue, Crocosmia. Garbage pickup day, so I had to wait for the trucks to go by, and then of course all the trucks that were held back had to go. Some astilbe, we'll see. I know that this particular hibiscus doesn't get the sun it needs, and I need to move it to another spot, but I don't know the proper time for that, so I don't want to disturb it. Grass is looking really lovely in this area. Kind of adds the right effect for that heron. And impatiens are coming along. This garden still doesn't get the water it needs, but we've had quite a few storms, so I think it's grateful for those storms. Another look at Jessica's tree. So beautiful. Love that Japanese maple. And just kind of a distant look at the entrance garden there and my neighbor's pails. Well, I hope you enjoyed the summer tour of our gardens and that you're enjoying your summer. And until next time, this is Mary, Gardening with Granny.